Welcome to the first in a series of tutorials regarding using EnSight for Barracuda. In this tutorial we'll go through and show you how to load data sets into EnSight and get some basic visualization. In my directory here I've got the GMV files that were saved out from the simulation. I've got them at essentially every 10 time steps here. The frequency and the number of them doesn't matter, simply that you do have GMV files here. Okay. I can simply just drag and drop the GMV file straight onto the viewport, and EnSight will load in the data set straight into EnSight. Now, EnSight loads or references all the data sets here in that same directory, all with the GMV dot asterisk extension. So we've actually referenced all 50 data sets in here, all 50 time steps in here. Currently, we're looking at time step 49 from 0 to 49, so the 50th time step. And we've got a listing of the parts here in the parts object tree. And down here in the variables tab, we have a variable object list where we have all the variables that are referenced on those various GMV files in both grouped as both scalars, vectors, and constants here. Okay. So some of these variables exist on the fluid domain and some exist on the particle domain, the discrete phase. But they're all listed here together. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to use the right mouse button to zoom in. We can use the left mouse button to pan, and we can use the right mouse button to rotate. Okay. We can use any of the view options down here to reset our view, or perhaps reset back to where we started here originally. Okay. So I'm actually going to take these clip planes here. I'm going to take the visibility of those parts off. We'll take the visibility of this none part as well as the fluid elements. Just for the time being, we'll turn them off. So we're looking at just the particle domain. Now you see I have a highlighting turned on, so as I mouse over different parts, they will get a highlight here in the viewport. Now for the particles in this model, the first thing we typically do is to change their visualization to be spheres rather than just dots. So after selecting the particle part, we can go up here to the top row of EnSight and click on the node representation and change the type rather than dots to be spheres. Okay. Right now they're all scaled. We can scale them down, and they're all sized by a constant, but let's actually size them by a scalar. We can then choose the variable that we like to scale them by down here, and we'll choose size. And again, we can choose the scale factor to represent how we might like to visualize these. So these are essentially 1.8 times their size. So if I did 1 times their size, this is their physical size here in the domain. We can turn off the highlighting if that makes it a little bit easier to look at the model, and we can also change the background with a right click, background color to perhaps gray. Maybe that might be a little bit easier to see the particles. Now in terms of coloring, we're going to go down here, we're going to select one of the scalars. We'll select size here as well. We can just drag the size variable and drop it onto the particles, and we'll get a coloration for the size of the particles at the current time step. Okay. The range is taken as the default range at the current time step. The values may be outside this range at other time steps, but at the moment EnSight's just referencing that 50th time step. Maybe the next thing we'll do, under constants, we'll drag analysis time and just drop it into the viewport here. And this will give us an annotation for the particular time step. Okay. So at this point, we can go up here to File, Export, Animation, and we can save out the animation as we like it right here. We can save out the solution time by specifying a file here and the format up here. We can choose animation formats such as AVI or MPEG files directly, and then specify the file here. Under the advanced toggle, we can change how the resolution of the exported animation or image is kept, as well as the anti-aliasing here with the number of passes. So in this tutorial, we spent 5 minutes. We've been able to load the data set in, size the particles, color the particles, and be able to get an initial visualization through. That should get you going here, and we'll follow on with further tutorials here on visualizing your CPFD dataset.